What would happen if the Yamato class, the world's biggest and greatest dreadnought, built by the Imperial Japanese Navy during the late 1930s and commissioned in 1941, were to face a modern destroyer? Would it stand a chance? On the surface, the idea doesn't sound half bad for the Imperial Yamato. Modern destroyers of today have incredibly weak armor in comparison to the Yamato's up to 400mm belt armor, and they would be very easily destroyed with a few rounds from the monstrous guns found on the giant Yamato. The majority of weapon systems that modern destroyers use today are not designed to penetrate heavily armored ships such as the Yamato. Typically they use high explosive fragmentation warheads instead of armor penetration warheads. As everybody knows, modern ships possess very little armor. So surely the Yamato would destroy a modern day destroyer with no difficulty. It would make for an incredible story, but sadly for these behemoths of the sea, it wouldn't be that easy. The battleship era came to a sinking end during the 1990s. They were still very capable vessels, but technology was evolving rapidly and was starting to leave them behind. Conventional guns were being replaced with missile systems, and these systems were carried on cheaper and easier to produce faster vessels that prioritized stealth and ranged combat over brute power and size. Battleships were very high maintenance vessels, costed a lot to operate, and required thousands of crews to keep them battle ready. If we look at the weapon systems on the Yamato, it holds the record for the largest guns ever fitted on a battleship. Its main battery consisted of 3 turrets with triple 46cm or 18.1-inch cannons. The guns fired 2 types of ammunition, high explosive and armor penetration rounds, weighing in at 1400 kilograms a shell. The equivalent of firing 9 cars filled with explosives at an enemy ship at the speed of 800 meters per second. And this was just with one barrage. The armor penetration shells could penetrate up to 864mm of belt armor, and the guns had an unprecedented range of 25 miles for the time, 3 miles higher than the range on the Bismarck. The Yamato can certainly destroy a modern destroyer with little effort, but under certain requirements. It must be within that 25-mile range. This is where the problem lies. On the other hand, modern destroyers, such as the Arleigh Burke class, are fitted with Tomahawk and Harpoon missile systems. Its radar can detect ships up to 200 miles away, and the Harpoon anti-ship missiles complement that range. This is 8 times the range that the Yamato's weapon systems have. The Yamato also feature radar systems such as the 22 Gokai 4, which had a maximum range of 20 miles. Not bad at all for a battleship, but it would get detected by the Arleigh Burke class long before the Yamato detects the modern destroyer. Upon detection, the Yamato would get bombarded by Harpoon missiles, and the Yamato wouldn't know where it's being hit from. However, by no means would it be an easy feat to sink a mighty battleship like the Yamato. The Burke class would have to begin targeting the softer parts of the battleship, such as the control tower and its deck, in an attempt to take out its crew and its combat effectiveness. Over time, with the use of many missiles, the Yamato would be tickled into submission, but even then, it's unlikely to sink. The Burke class would have to use its torpedoes to eventually sink it at a closer range. On the other hand, if the mighty Yamato somehow managed to close the distance on an unaware modern destroyer, perhaps with a lousy crew, and in very rare cases, a malfunctioning radar system, it wouldn't last a second in its sight, and would most likely sink with an accurately placed barrage from the 946cm cannons of the Yamato. On the 7th of April 1945, the Yamato was attacked by hundreds of American planes, such as the F-4U Corsair and F-4F Hellcat, over many hours, and sunk after being bombarded by an estimated 13 torpedoes and 8 bombs, on top of heavy machine gun fire, ending the legacy of what was the biggest battleship to have ever graced the seas. Only 6.8% of you guys watching this video are subscribed. Subscribing to the channel is free, and it massively helps get towards the 100,000 subscriber goal for this year, so please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, or if you didn't, hit the dislike button, and leave a comment below on your thoughts. A huge thanks to our Patreons for funding the channel, allowing me to make these videos through these rather rough times. The inspiration for this video came from a past video, on the Bismarck vs Modern Destroyer. If you enjoyed this one, you certainly enjoy watching that one, linked on the top right pop-up and in the comments below. Thanks for watching, stay safe.